Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Sludge #1 from the Ultraverse. Before I get started, I gotta give a quick shout out to all my subscribers. The channel's growing at a nice steady pace and I really appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe. Today's book is another one of my journey into 1993. Normally I label those as top sellers. This was not one of the top 300 books, but I feel like the Ultraverse is definitely important to discuss for that year. It's part of that just glut of so many comics that were coming out. Everyone was trying to get in on building a new superhero universe. Mostly, I would say, piggybacking off of what Image and Valiant were doing and all the attention they were getting. Malibu Comics had been around, and obviously they had a deal originally to distribute Image, but I think that was a temporary deal, and it didn't last too long. Probably was still going on at this point, but Malibu also on the side was creating its own superhero universe called the Ultraverse, and this is one of the launch titles of. This didn't actually come out in the first month. This probably was in the maybe the 5th month of the Ultraverse. And I say that because of this Barry Windsor Smith rune story that is running through the flip side of this, which we'll look at in a minute. And there's a thing on the inside that tells you where this more or less rune 0 is being published in the back of these. And that was a good gimmick to get you to try these titles. I really liked this one back when it came out. This one and Prime were probably the two Ultraverse books that I really liked. Some of the others were... they were just kind of generic, but this one was good, and it was written by Steve Gerber and penciled by Aaron Lobstry. And I don't know what exactly the ownership rights were of this Ultraverse stuff. I've heard, because Marvel purchased Malibu and in turn got the rights to all this, and I've heard that one reason they don't make new Ultraverse stuff is because there is creator rights still tied up with some of the people that worked on these books. So, of course, we lost Steve Gerber, Aaron Lobstry. I don't know who gets credit for owning any of it. I do know there were some issues with Prime, particularly the writer of Prime, and some legal issues he got into. So, Sludge here is more or less a muck monster of sorts. Think like... it's not really fair to say like Man-Thing or Swamp Thing because he doesn't appear to be like an elemental type of character. He's more just like your traditional muck monster from like an old horror book. He's in the sewer here, and it'll quickly give us a flashback on kind of who he is. We do get this like conservative radio guy in the background all the time, and he's going on about like the homelessness and like crime and all the typical things. I guess being 1993, I'm going to guess this guy was modeled after Rush Limbaugh. He doesn't look like him, but like his rhetoric in these scenes is very much so. You get like your gang here that were doing, I don't know what they were robbing or whatever. And of course they bump into our monster who looks like just dripping oil almost. They're doing like a drive-by shooting or something. Why? I don't really know. Doesn't, just because we need some villain, something going on here for the muck monster to crawl out of the sewer for. And it doesn't come across very like horror-like, but I think that's kind of the vibe we're going. It still feels very superhero-y. Some great art by Lobstry here doing the splash page. I like this stuff, seeing like the bullets just like fly through him, and it looks like it squirts blood, like he is bleeding, unless it's just turning red hot when the bullet passes through. But you can see like when he like drips to the ground and it's like stuck to the ground, and he flings that stuff everywhere. So these guys come out and fight him with like swords, and when the guns don't work. He did fall down for a second, and they're laying, they're coming after him. I mean, that's clearly he's bleeding. But then the blood, I think, just like turns back into the black goop and comes back up on him. That's a very Swamp Thing-like image, like Bernie Wright's in Swamp Thing. And as he fights these guys, so when he's grabbing this guy by the hands, and you hear him yell, and you think maybe just because his hands are getting, crushed, but then you look, and it's almost like the skin and muscle tissue has like bonded together. So this guy tries the gun again, and the monster he can barely talk. He's not even like Hulk smash talk. It's like he has trouble getting the words out even. So he does the same thing to this guy's face and covers him up to where I don't even think he can breathe. And then here he's just going to smash this guy's head in. Get a nice Bane breaking Batman's back over the knee. And he leaves these guys just for dead. He does they stolen like a suitcase full of money, and he does take it. The money triggers like a memory, like the stolen money. So then we get this, and it turns out he's I think he was like a dirty cop, but he was only dirty in the sense that he would just say hey, stay away from here. Oh, the cops they're on to you for this. I would back out of that, blah, blah, blah. But they want him to set up something where some other cops get killed, and he refuses to do that. And when he refuses to do that, of course, they want to, they say, well, we need to take him out altogether. So they chase him into this building, chase him through the hallways, and he ends up in this room with a bunch of chemicals and stuff that, I don't know, why did it explode? Oh, a grenade got thrown. Who throws a grenade inside a building? And it causes these chemicals to all explode all over him and turn him into this. And so, he's covered in the chemicals and he's dying. And the mobster guys are just kind of we need to just dump him. Well, first they fill him with bullets just to make sure he's dead. And then they take him uptown and just throw him in an alleyway. So here's the rune stuff. I don't even remember this solution. But you got a Barry Windsor Smith book here. And it says 2 number zeros. And this number 0, well, I guess you could mail order a number 0. Yeah. Win a special coupon. Available in Ultra Monthly, number 4. So you needed coupons from these books. But these books are also the ones that have the flip book in this. So I am kind of looking for some of those. I have maybe 2 or 3 of them, including this one. But these are the ones you need. And so Hard Case is number 5. The Strangers is at number 5. Prime isn't even on this. So Prime is at number 5. So I think, the launch titles were probably Hard Case, Prime, and The Strangers. And so they were in their 5th month. But these other ones, like this one, Nightman number 1, Sludge number 1, you have Firearm is in its 2nd month, Exiles in its 3rd month. So it kind of shows you where the Ultraverse was at this point. They throw him into the sewer, and he turns into the muck monster, the Sludge. I really like the art in this, and the coloring's good too. That's kind of one of the things Malibu was known for. They were an early adopter of the digital coloring, and they did a pretty good job. And that's ended up why Marvel would purchase them, was so that they could get that in-house digital coloring system. So we're back to present. Here he comes. Looks like there's the homeless people down there. He comes with the suitcase full of money. Of course, he doesn't really need the money. But again, he's listening to the conservative radio host, and he's annoyed by it, and he smashes the radio. So Steve Gerber giving his little political commentary there. And then he just leaves the suitcase with the money there for the guys. Because they're like, holy geez, that's no way to talk about Santa Claus, fellas. Because they're like, what is that? He's like a monster, but he left him a suitcase full of money. And that's the end of this issue. But we do get the flip book. Here's their kind of bullpen bulletins, more or less. So we'll flip it over and we'll look at the rune. These rune covers also would connect to be a bigger picture. So you got, this is the A one. So this is kind of like the first part of the story. And rune is like an alien vampire. And I have rune number 1. Maybe I'll go over that. Barry Windsor Smith is really proud of this rune series, and he supposedly he's asked Marvel a few times to pull it out and print some trade paperbacks of it. And I don't know why they hold off on it. I mean, they must think there's not a market for it. But Rune is, like I said, he's like I don't know, like you'd say alien or interdimensional vampire of some sort. I mean, you got these, the way he disconnects his jaw and his almost insect-like front teeth, vampire teeth. And he has these runes that he does something with. And that's all you get. You just get a couple pages. I think, is this a preview for Nightman? Yeah, because this Nightman book premiered the same month. So you get a couple page preview of that. Oh, and the Mighty Magnor. I forgot about that. You get this Mighty Magnor short where he stops some, just a 1-page short. So it comes in, it's a hold up in the alleyway, and he says, "Halt, evildoers. Will Magnor save the day? Probably not. Watch for part 2 next week." So part 2 must have been probably in one of these other rune books. So, definitely I'm keeping an eye out for these rune titles because I would like to have the whole set of them. And even the rune, I think Barry Windsor Smith did the first 6 issues, and the series continued for a little longer, but not with him. That's all I got for Sludge number 1. Until next time, read your comics.